It's really such an honor to be asked to speak here today in solidarity with those criminalized for the dangerous acts of selling books and trading in ideas. I'm sure I'm not the only person in this room who has recently wondered if solidarity is even possible anymore, who looks at the crimes being committed now in Palestine and looks back at the long histories of dispossession and genocides and wonders whether the divisions are now too great and the pain too bitter to continue to put our faith in solidarity. But of course, if we give up on solidarity and empathy, we know what the future will look like. We can see that future being prophesied to us daily now by politicians and billionaires. So we know this isn't the time to give up, and I guess it's just still up to each of us to decide whether we're going to acquiesce in that bitter cycle of hate and division, or stand up for values of humanity and solidarity in whatever ways we can, however small. And we know that literature and writers don't occupy some separate plane from the political world. We as writers, we're not always immune from lazy thinking and repeating dehumanizing patterns of thought. I'm a Jewish writer who grew up in a family marked by the trauma of the Holocaust, and I know that I too have in the past glossed over Israel's actions or averted my eyes from Palestinian experiences. But because we're not separate, because we're part of the political world, I think literature and writers do still have this potential power to possibly build connections, amplify ways of thinking that center empathy and solidarity. And we need to keep enlarging that place of possibility and to resist those who would shrink it or cancel it or censor it or criminalize it. So it's in the spirit of solidarity. I'm not going to keep on talking in my own voice. I'm just going to read two short poems, one by a Jewish woman and one by a Palestinian woman. Well, they speak for themselves. Both of them were written more than half a century ago in the 1960s. I lived in the first century of world wars. Most mornings, I would be more or less insane. The newspapers would arrive with their careless stories. The news would pour out of various devices, interrupted by attempts to sell products to the unseen. I would call my friends on other devices. They would be more or less mad for similar reasons. Slowly, I would get to pen and paper and make my poems for others unseen and unborn. In the day, I would be reminded of those men and women, brave, setting up signals across vast distances, considering a nameless way of living, almost unimagined values. And as the light darkened, and as the lights of night brightened, we would try to imagine them and try to find each other, to construct peace, to make love, to reconcile waking with sleeping, ourselves with each other, ourselves with ourselves. We would try by any means to reach the limits of ourselves and to reach beyond ourselves, to let go the means, to wake. I lived in the first century of these wars. So that was written by Muriel Rukeyser back in 1968, and I think still speaks. And next, I chose a poem by Fadwa Tuqan, the Palestinian poet. This version is a translation by Naomi Shihab Nye, The Deluge and the Tree. When the hurricane swirled and spread its deluge of dark evil onto the good green land, they gloated. The western skies reverberated with joyous accounts. The tree has fallen, the great trunk is smashed, the hurricane leaves no life in the tree. Had the tree really fallen? Never. Not with our red streams flowing forever, not while the wine of our torn limbs feeds the thirsty roots, Arab roots alive, tunneling deep, deep into the land. When the tree rises up, the branches shall flourish green and fresh in the sun, and the laughter of the tree shall leaf beneath the sun, and birds shall return. undoubtedly, the birds shall return. The birds shall return. Thank you.